SprintSlow fam, what's happening? We are talking about training for an IronMan 70.3. Got my first one coming up in 3 months. So let's talk about that training cycle in itself. I have a little bit of base training built in there, and then I'm gonna start to taper off towards the end. Where I'm coming from, my current base level of fitness is I just completed an Xterra triathlon, which is a swim of about a mile, mountain bike, 16 miles, and a 6-mile trail run. So I would compare it to Olympic distance or maybe a little longer because the mountain bike and the trail run is a lot different. So I'm coming in just being able to do an Olympic triathlon. You're probably not in that same spot. Hopefully you're just looking for a little guidance here about how I attack things. But if you have questions about your training and you want me to fire something off to you, just drop a comment below. I've been involved in training and helping people for the last 15 years. Specifically, my experience with CrossFit. Don't hate on CrossFit. Training in bad circumstances and pushing yourself too far in anything will lead you to injury. I've been doing CrossFit for 15 years. I've gotten hurt snowboarding, wrestling with my kids, running, all types of other activities, not in CrossFit. Back to the program. So in these 3 months, what I am going to try to do is focus on ramping up volume, but I want to do that in a very condensed form. So what I mean by that is volume to me is not appealing. Eventually one day I want to go for the full Ironman, but even for the 70.3, I got a family, I got a business, I want to spend time with them. I do not want to develop a training schedule where I have to hit all of these metrics and it becomes not fun for me. So what I'm going to try to do is find the MET, the minimum effective training. MET. It's trademarked, don't try to steal it. Just kidding. That's just what I am thinking about every time I go out for my training piece. How can I make this the minimum effective training? Because when I'm going into this, I'm a completer. I'm not a competitor. Not a competitor, just a completer. Need to repeat that? I am a completer, not a competer. And I think if you're Googling on the tubes on how to get better or train for your first triathlon, we're probably in the same boat. You're probably a completer too. If you're a pro, I don't think you're watching this. This is probably not the video for the pros. You go click somewhere else. I also have a base level of strength training because lift a fair amount in CrossFit compared to just being a runner or a triathlete before this. So I think that's very important. Strength training will prevent injury, but I don't want to go off on that tangent yet. First, I want to talk about overall training philosophy and that minimum effective training. How I'm going to do that is I want to make the swims, the bikes, and the runs more challenging. I want them to be short and intense. This is important. Short and intense. Cannot emphasize that enough. Watch some videos around the tubes, scroll along some forums out there. If you go long and intense, you will get hurt. If you think you can push intensity for a long duration, start running hard 5Ks, start training at below 8-minute miles, let's say, for upwards of 15 miles or 13 miles if you want to nail in that half. It is going to add up. That is not sustainable if you don't have a very high level of base. A pro, not a competitor, not a completer. So what I want to do is find that minimum time and make it short and intense. This is, kind of a basis of CrossFit, what we do there. So I want to bring that to the triathlon training. I also want to take the distance and make it long, slow distance of whatever I need to do, and I will have to complete that. There will be time that I have to put in for a longer swim, longer bike, but I want to do whatever I can to make that a little more challenging. Not necessarily with intensity, but increasing some type of resistance or making it in a hard training environment. Create hard training environments. It's pouring down rain. I was working a little bit on the van, but I want to take this opportunity to run. I'm not talking about creating something so hard that's going to be pain or cause injury, maybe a little pain, but I want to take this opportunity to run in the rain because it's more challenging. It's harder. Water's in your face. You don't feel like moving. See if I can get 5 miles in. Hopefully this makes race day all that much easier because I worked with the environment to make sure that my training day was challenging, not perfect conditions. So on the run, it's going to be easy. These short, intense pieces, I can try to attack, for me, below those 8-minute miles, and then try to get some hill involved. For the longer pieces, sometimes I'll strap on a weight vest and then I'll attack as many hills as I can during the run. For example, there's a very steep hill you can see right here over at Federal Hill Park where we are in Baltimore, at least where we are right now, and going up that hill is intense. Going up that hill in a vest is even more intense. So it's a great example of a minimum effective training for me. I can train on that hill for 20 to 30 minutes, up and down as many times as possible, and during the run in Tempe, that's what I'm signed up for, super flat, is not going to be as hard as that. I feel like now I could be done, but 2 more is really going to hurt. So that's what I'm pushing for. It's going to be different for everybody. It's going to be depending on where you're starting from and where you are. So unless someone knows a lot about you, they shouldn't be prescribing you a training program. They should just be giving you rough ideas or guidelines, or hopefully using something as this for ideas to put together for you. That would be my recommendation. 2 to go. Here's another piece in the run where we were in OBX. I was in the soft sand. It must have been 90 degrees in the middle of the day. You can see I had some stuff over my head and my hat, and I did a 5-mile run in the soft sand only on the beach. It's hard. Go run in the soft sand. That is hard. There's minimum effective training, all right? So 10 miles on the road equal to 5 miles on the soft sand. It's not science. I'm just making that up, but that's how I feel. Soft sand running is hard. So for the biking and the swimming, obviously that's a little harder. For the swimming, I don't get decked out all in my race gear. Usually I just wear whatever swimming trunks I'm wearing to play with the kids in the pool. I can get more drag if I were to wear kind of a looser shirt in the water, which I've done before. So just trying to create more resistance so it's harder for me to stay afloat, swim, and move, so that when I do get in the water on race day, it feels so much better. This is an overarching view of how I will attack training. All right, so that's the plan for the run, swim, bike, attacking the hills when I'm out there. Weight vest I don't think makes too much of a difference on the bike, but it could inhibit the breathing a little bit. I might experiment with that once in a while. But if I find a hill that is intense when I'm out on a ride, I will loop that hill numerous times just to create that intensity piece. I'm trying to look at this as a 1 to 2 time a week thing for me, and I'm trying to attack it in segments, and then I'll try to group them as I get closer to the race. And what I mean by that is tomorrow's the weekend, I'll have a little bit of time. I'm gonna try to hop on my bike and be out there for over an hour on the bike. All right, that's gonna be my volume day on a bike leading up to it. I will need to get more time on the bike. If I get home and there's not much going on at home, I'm gonna drop the bike and then go for some type of run. I'll keep that run at a slower pace and just try to get that volume in. I have to get my ankles, knees, hips, joints just moving for that longer duration of time. I'm not going to think too much about my pacing when I'm going through this. I'm just thinking this is the duration and time that I need to be putting in. All right, and then I'll start to couple those more and more as we get closer to the race, and then hopefully the longer days involve some type of big swim in order, and big swim into the bike, into the run. So I can start to create volume days 1 to 2 times a week. The other days for me, not necessarily intense as far as like I'm pushing, I'm trying to run a sprint, but trying to create a harder training environment. The challenging piece for me is we're headed out to live in the van soon. If you watched any other videos on this channel, you know that. So we are going to be in a van starting in August. So I'll have the final 2 months of my training driving around in a van with my family. Super stoked about it. Could not be more excited. But this will inhibit training. I will also have to seek out different things depending on where we are. Pools are not going to be very accessible. Hope some of these tips helped. I will keep you guys updated on the training throughout these next couple weeks as we move into first 70.3 attempt.